Cool. There.
All right. RJ, you good?
I'm ready, man.
All right. We are ready. Xceleration Fitness Podcast number 15 with special guest RJ Boudro. I'm Ben Boudro.
I'm John Papp. This is, you already said it, number 15. We are recording. Cool. Yeah, okay.
All right, cool. So, RJ, what we're going to do with this podcast, guys, is definitely a special one because it's the first time I've ever had my brother on here. Number two, it's the first one we've ever had with doing it virtually and not in person. So this is going to open up the doors to help us reach a lot of people all over the nation. RJ's the first one to do it, so here we go, guys. What I'm going to do is let RJ introduce himself, tell him his background, and we'll go through some questions about athletes, we'll go through questions about parenting, and then at the end, the best part, we're going to do a little rapid-fire round where we're going to ask RJ a bunch of personal questions, and he only has 2 seconds to answer, so it's going to be fun. So without further ado, John, you want to let RJ introduce himself?
Yeah. So, introduce yourself.
Let's roll.
Yeah. Well, first, let me say thanks for the opportunity. I think anytime that you get a chance to talk about yourself, tell people about your life, I think it's a helpful experience for me, just to kind of go through all this stuff. So it's kind of a little bit of rewarding and a good opportunity. But yeah, Ben, you know a lot about me, obviously, since we grew up together. But I'll kind of go through that. I think since I can remember, like the first memories I have is when I was in Rochester Hills, living in a small town with 3 younger brothers. I was the oldest, and we were known as the roughest kids in the block. We had the biggest yard, but no one was really allowed to play in our yard because we were rough. We always played like games outside all the time. We played, when there was 3 of us and Ben was too young, we played pickle like all the time. We had street hockey, basketball was a huge part of us, baseball, everything. So we just grew up as a rough and tough kids playing sports. My mom used to make us play outside all the time. I just remember her saying, get outside, get outside, get outside. And as much as we wanted to watch our black and white or new color TV, they took us outside a lot. And then, we moved from Rochester Hills over to Armada, which is a small country town in the southern thumb of Michigan. And we were kind of like we were kids from Rochester living in the country, but we were kind of country boys. We raised pigs and did 4-H and things like that. But, we only had about 480 kids in our high school when we finally got to high school. So it was a small town. We played all kinds of sports, football, wrestling, baseball, golf, everything growing up. And I think sports was a big part of who we were growing up. It necessarily wasn't, we weren't doing, a lot of workout routines at that age. We were just playing outside. And I think that introduced us to being healthy a lot. And growing up in high school, I think I loved football, but I loved wrestling, and wrestling is something I wanted to do in college. And when I got to graduate, it was time to graduate high school, I had a really good GPA because, we were always concerned about our academics. So I was going to just go to Central Michigan and wrestle and walk on. And this kind of a long story. I'm going to keep it short. I wrestled with Ryan Chiarella and his dad. Mr. Chiarella called the head coach at University of Michigan, said that you should take a look at this kid. And literally 2 weeks later, I was going to University of Michigan. I was going to go do my orientation. So I walked down at the University of Michigan to wrestle, and that's a big part of my life. It was a big changing point. So went to University of Michigan. I was a part of like the number 2 ranked team in the country as a freshman because they were really good, and had a good experience at the University of Michigan. But for another long story, a reason I transferred to Michigan State University to wrestle. And I know that's kind of weird. You're going from
Michigan to Michigan State.
Yeah, Michigan to Michigan State. It was kind of crazy. So I transferred state. And I think, I don't know of anything. If anybody wants to correct me on this, I'm the only person to ever get a varsity letter at both schools. So it's kind of a weird thing.
History? Ever?
Tell me somebody else that lettered at Michigan and then transferred to Michigan State.
I haven't heard that either.
Somebody told me that at Michigan State. One of the athletic directors told me that. So I thought that was pretty cool. But Michigan, that opportunity was huge for me. At Michigan, I was one of the guys that was working really, really hard, but I wasn't a scholarship athlete. So I was paying my own way to go to Michigan. And when I went to Michigan State, they paid for everything because I really showed out at University of Michigan, kind of from a guy that never won a state title to a guy that was, competing with the best guys in the country. So Michigan State gave me a full scholarship, got my degree, got a master's degree in high school counseling. And that led me to Lowell, Michigan, where, Dave Dean was my coach at Michigan State for a year. Then he went to Lowell, Michigan, brought me over to do my internship. And that was 11 years ago. It's kind of crazy to say it's 11 years ago, but ever since I've been in Lowell, I now am a high school guidance counselor at Lowell High School. I have 3 kids. I didn't have any when I moved to Lowell. I have 3 girls, married to Kelly. We own a house about a mile and a half from the high school. Lowell is a small town. The city of Lowell has 4,000 people in it. The school district has about 4,400 kids. We have 1,200 kids at the high school. A really good football program. I coached football I was the head JV coach at Lowell for 5 years for football. And during that time, we won a state championship at the varsity level, been in the state finals another 3 times. And then as far as wrestling goes, I've been a part of 5 different state championships at Lowell, been in the finals another 4 times. So I've been here 11 years and been in the state finals 9 out of those 11 years, and won 4 straight state championships and been a part of a really good program. So, I mean, that's kind of me in a quick 2-minute rundown of kind of what I've been through and where I'm at today. So.
Wow. Okay, so kind of sticking with the coaching side of things, what did you find that's like, what makes you guys, tick? Why have you been to the state finals 9 out of 11 years? Like, how did that come about?
And there's probably a lot that goes to it, but like, what's one common trait that you're like, all right?
Well, you're not going to get one. I mean, hard work, I guess, is probably the most biggest common trait. It's a simple question with a really complex answer.
Mm-hmm.
It's a program. I'm a part of the program. I'm the head coach now. I'm in charge of running it, but it's a program. Yesterday, I floated down the river with 40 different youth kids. We had a youth camp all week, and then I floated down the river and we had a cookout, and I got to talk with all the parents. That's a huge part of me winning the state championship, because I'm interacting with all these parents and little kids that are 4, 5, and 6 years old they remember me. They see me at Myers and they're like, there's my coach, and they're calling me coach at age 5 years old. That's a huge part of it. Leadership is a huge part of us winning. And when I say that, I have 7 different coaches on the varsity level. I have all kinds of parents that help me. I lean on guys like Noel Dean and Dave Dean, Noel Dean's the head football coach at Lowell, and his brother Dave was my, coach at state and was the head coach before me. I think belief and patience are huge with winning, meaning that there's kids, I have to have patience and belief in kids, and kids have to have patience and belief in me. I try to tell kids, like, listen, you're not starting your freshman year or your sophomore year, but if you put in all the work right now and you work hard, by a senior year, you might be that guy. And that happens every once in a while. And those kids are a huge part of why we win. Humility is huge. Not thinking too much of yourself, man. Being humble is a big part of us winning. And then I think I kind of wrote some notes down. I said, everyone is a reason why we win. Meaning, like, we had 44 guys on our roster last year, and it took all 44 guys to win a state championship last year. And I try to tell that to our kids. And even though, some of those kids never wrestled a varsity match, but, they showed up to the volunteer events. They showed up to the workouts and the lifts. And you guys have been there. You've done a workout where there's 6 guys in the room and there's 60 guys. You tell me which one had more energy.
Yeah.
The one with 60 or the one with 6. So all those guys showing up, it takes everyone, and it takes every workout. So there's a lot that goes into it. I at my banquet, I always go, people always ask me, I get from all kinds of youth coaches, what makes you guys so elite? How are you guys so good? And I'm like, well, sit down for 30 minutes and I'll tell you, because it's going to take that long, because there's that many things that go into it. It's not one thing, but you ask for one common trait. That's tough. I mean, hard work is involved in every single one of the things I just mentioned. It's hard to be patient. It's hard to be humble. It's hard to be a leader. It's hard to believe, so it's just not easy. It's not going to come easy.
I'm sure there's some parents listening to this and there's some kids listening to this. One thing you noted is you get those high school kids that aren't starting to show up to practices, to show up to volunteer events. When I think of back in high school, when I was 16, there were so much better things I could have done than volunteer or go to practice where I'm not even going to start. How do you get kids to get there? I mean, that's got to be one of the hardest things in the world to do. Motivate a kid to do something he doesn't want to do where he's not getting any praise for, you know what I mean?
Yeah, well, you said there's better things to do. Well, there's not better things to do. There really isn't. You should be volunteering, and it just takes it takes a leader to do it. I mean, it takes somebody to just tell kids to get there. And it makes it a lot easier for me when my kids that people follow, my leaders, are there. So as a coach, I'm going to David Cruz and Avery Mushler and some of the guys that I know my guys look up to. And if they're there volunteering and they see those guys, they'll feel like, oh I should be there and I should be doing those things. So, and then just doing it yourself. I show up to the practices. I show up to the youth camps. I show up to the float downs, and those kids see me there. And I think it's just leading by example is a big reason. Those kids see that it's a big part of my life. And I think, I think kids want to be similar, have similar aspirations to kind of what I've done. And kind of like I want to follow, Dave Dean or some other people that I look up to. So I just think leadership and leading by example.
How do you instill humbleness in a kid who's a state champion?
It's culture is a big part of it at Lowell. If you're going to wear the Red Arrow singlet, you're going to carry yourself in a certain way. So, my kids don't slap themselves in the face and run around the mat and have an entrance music when, they come out for every single match. They go out there, they hold themselves, they put their foot on the line, they shake hands, they wrestle. They don't argue with the ref. They don't argue with the coaches. They don't look into the parent stands. These are things that I cover with them in practice. We have practices that are dedicated towards how to carry yourself. When you lose, you go back to the center, you raise your hand. If you want to throw a fit, you go in the locker room, close the bathroom stall, and you throw a fit when no one's watching you. You don't throw the fit where everybody can see it. If Noel Dean does that, you score a touchdown, you're going to be damned if you're going to put your knee down and, do the sign of the cross and point up to the sky. You're going to celebrate with your friends for about 5 seconds, then get back to doing what you need to do. So it's just a culture. It's just the way that, we do things as far as the way you carry yourself. And then that kind of creates humbleness. That it's not just about you, it's about the team, and it's always about the team. So you start making life about you and always you in a team atmosphere, you're going to struggle with being humble. And I think that starts at an early age too. You see youth wrestlers out there that, are doing all these things to bring more attention to themselves. If your wrestling style and you as a person isn't enough, then you need to look yourself in the mirror, because that should be enough, for you to be happy.
Dang, I like it. Some good stuff right there. I never even thought about that, man. Okay. Let's transition a little bit. How important is fitness to you, and how is it, like, what are you doing now? What kind of things are you doing? You're a busy guy, you're a coach, you're a dad of 3. How do you keep up with your fitness?
Well, I think it's just a part of my life. It's just kind of who I am a little bit, and that's taken some work. I think when you say that, there's always a quote that comes to mind. Martin Floriani is the head of Flow Wrestling. He was at Michigan State one time, and he's working out in our wrestling room while he's getting ready to do an interview and stuff like that. And he just said to me, he said, you need to make excuses to work out instead of telling people and others your excuses why you can't work out. So for me, I have plenty of excuses why I can't work out. I have 3 kids that are 5, 3, and 6 months. And every time that me and Kelly are doing at-home workout, one starts crying and one starts fighting, and we have plenty of reasons why we can't work out. But it's just making excuses to work out. So the things that I'm doing right now, like Kelly, literally, this just happened. She's going off to talk to a babysitter right now. Obviously, I'm doing a podcast. She's like, hey, do you want a lunch when I get home? Yeah, let's lunch. So we kind of made our plan. So we're going to half-mile lunch. I do boot camps with Brian. My brother Brian runs boot camps in the morning at 5:30. So I'll go to his boot camp any chance I get. I have kids that call me and ask me to work out. So it's really day to day for me. I just know that somehow I'm going to get a workout in. Like I'm going to do something. And if Kelly and I, she said, like, if we by some chance can work out together, we like to work out together. So Kelly and I will try to do that. And she'll say, what do you want to do? We'll go downstairs and we'll write up a workout real quick. That takes about 5 minutes. And then our workout usually takes 20. And then we're done and we're sweating and we're sore together. Something I did 2 days ago, I'm reading Tools for Titans by Tim Ferriss. And he's got some like kind of cool gymnastics, yoga type stuff that we were doing. So we were using the physical ball and that little leg routine where you're doing 7 workouts with 20 reps with each leg. We did that, and then we did those walks with the furniture sliders down in the basement. But we're like my back and my arms are killing me from that workout. So it's a whole bunch of little things, man, that we do. Over the weekend at 4th of July, I played spike ball like it was my job, and I was sore as hell. So I burned some calories doing that. So anything I can do to work out is just kind of a part of who I am.
Love it. So don't make an excuse why you can't work out. Make an excuse why you have to work out.
Exactly. So instead of telling people excuses you can't work out, tell the people the excuses you need to work out. You know, what excuse? Hey, I'm sorry. Or make excuses for yourself of why you need to work out. So I need to wake up at 5 a.m. because I have to work out, instead of I needed to sleep in, man. I'm sorry I couldn't work out. How do you want it to sound?
That's freaking awesome.
I like it. So speaking of morning, what is your typical morning routine? We kind of like to ask this to everybody.
I would love to say that I have a routine, but right now it's just crazy because my daughter Lexi has not been a great sleeper. So,
how old is your daughter?
She's 6 months. So and I've had 3 girls, and they've all been different as far as the way they sleep. But my wife Kelly, she works crazy weird shifts sometimes. She'll work at 3 to 11. So today she's going to work 3 to 11 p.m. So that will involve me probably getting up with the girls in the morning. So me getting up with the girls in the morning is going to put a little bit of a wrinkle into my morning tomorrow. So it's hard to necessarily say I have a routine, but if I could have the routine, I sometimes do. I have a hot tub, so I try to wake up in the morning early, go down to my hot tub for 10 minutes, and I get a little bit of my meditation, I call it, where I'm sitting there. I have a backyard that is pretty quaint and quiet, so I'm sitting out there staring at the nature in my hot tub, getting my body kind of warm, and then I stretch out. I'll have my coffee or Spark. I usually have Spark, but sometimes I like a French press coffee, and I'll throw some coconut oil in it and try to make it, just something where I can read some pages in a book. And then by that time, usually the kids are up, and then I'm getting after at my day. But I'm a high school guidance counselor, so the summer's a lot different. And during the school year, I have to be to school. I try to get there by 6:30, so I try to wake up by 5 and get my workout in if I can. I go right to work out, and then I get on with my day. So I like to involve some meditation type things if I can, where I have some time to myself. A lot of times it's stretching. I stretch for 7 minutes, and I feel so much better when I do that. So
I think that's huge. A lot of people kind of overlook that. Just simple movements like mobility and stretching stuff to start out and feel amazing when you do.
Yeah, I think about my daughter. They'll come in my closet. I have a walk-in closet, and they'll come in. It's 6 in the morning, and they're like, "What are you doing?" And I'm in a lunge with my arms above my head. But I feel so much better when I stretch. So
that kind of goes into the making excuses to work out, to fit it in. It takes 7 minutes. You did it in your closet,
Yeah.
It's not like you went to the gym and it took an hour. You stretch for 7 minutes to start things out.
Right.
I want to just remind the people listening to this, you listen to a fitness podcast. So most likely you're coming here for fitness advice, tips, weight loss kind of stuff. What I'm really getting out of this, guys, is here's a guy who is a head wrestling coach for a high school team who's state championships. I mean, it's 24/7 job. He has 3 daughters who are all under the age of, how old is Danny?
She's 5. She's going to be 6 next month. But
So he has a 6-year-old. Brindley's what?
She's going to be 4 in 6 days.
6, 4, and 6 months. 3 kids. And, I mean, these girls are energetic. I know firsthand. His wife is a nurse working crazy hours, and he runs a wrestling camp. He runs so many things. There are so many things outside of his control, yet fitness is still a huge part of his life. So if you're listening to this podcast and you haven't started your workouts yet, or you're scared to do it and you're making excuses, I think this kind of trumps everything and puts that excuse to rest, if you're asking me.
Yeah, well, don't get me wrong, though. There's times where I don't work out because I made an excuse, so I'm not perfect by any means. I don't want it to make it sound like I'm this walking example of perfection when it comes to fitness. I mean, I'm a lot better off than most people, but those are the things that I think about and I struggle with, and I think people that are going to be listening to this have the same struggles. You know what I mean? So I think that quote that I heard just kind of helps me and pushes me along. But yeah, I'm not perfect by any means, though. I don't want people to think I'm doing everything right. But you're right. I have plenty of excuses why I shouldn't work out, but I think for the most part, I find a way to get done. But, it helps when I know people like you. How many times, Ben, have I texted you and said, hey, can you send me a workout? And you send it to me 5 minutes later, and then I'm able to do that workout. That's a huge help.
I think you said something too that John can agree with, that every fitness professional can agree with. Perfectionism is what stops a lot of people from doing fitness. Like, my fitness is not perfect. I plan on working out for an hour a day, but I had a half-hour workout. Big deal. You know what I mean? And like John, like, workouts are always changing. So I think you just touched on something that's really key that people don't realize. As fitness professionals, our workouts are not perfect. Our programs are not done perfectly. Our nutrition is not perfect. It's just the reality of it.
Yeah, you're going to screw up a lot, a lot.
Yeah. You touched on being a guidance counselor. We could make a whole podcast on that and, developing kids and that kind of stuff. I have a question for you. What is your view on social media and how does it influence kids today?
It's scary. I'm scared about screens, and I say screens because there's so many ways to have social media, whether it's an iPod or an iPad or iTouch or all these different ways that kids can have something in the middle of the face. And as a parent, I just become concerned with screen time. How much, that's a TV too. So kids are watching a TV or a DVD player, and it's kind of weird because this is right in a debate between me and Kelly. Not a debate, it's just a concern we have. Their birthdays are coming up. I just said Brindley's birthday's in 6 days. Danny's 2 weeks later. And, we travel a lot because Kelly's parents live 3 hours away. Mine live 2.5 hours away. And we're always going back and forth trying to be with family. And, in the car can be a maddening time. It like you want to pull your hair out when kids are screaming and crying. You can't do anything about it. So we're like, let's get them a portable DVD player so they can watch some movies, the DVDs, and it'll be old school. Well, I tried going online doing that. And you're going to spend $60 for something that's going to break in a couple months. You might as well. I could buy a first generation iPad for $75. So I'm like, shit, shoot. I'm just going to buy an iPad for my kids so that they can watch movies. And I'm like, we come back and we circle back like the next day. I'm like, hey, I bought those iPads for the girls, and Kelly's all pumped. She's like, hold on a second. We just bought them iPads and we said we'd never buy them iPads. But, why did we do that? Because it's going to turn the screen time. Now, social media, you usually need a screen to do social media, right? Whether it's a computer, an iPad, or whatever. And I'm at the high school level, and I'm communicating with high school kids. Like, I run a volunteer club, and I have like 120 kids involved in that club, and they're always volunteering with me and stuff. The best way for me to communicate with them is through text. That's the way I get to them, or Twitter, right? Or Snapchat. So these are the way that kids communicate, and I'm almost forced to communicate with them because otherwise I'm not going to touch them. I'm not going to be able to get to those kids unless I join what they're doing. So it's very powerful, but everything has to have its limits. You have to have some discipline with it. And I'm addicted too, man. Like, I'm not addicted to the point where I'm always on my phone. I just catch myself sitting there with my kids, and then I'm sitting here like this, looking at my phone on Twitter, and I realize it's an issue and it's a problem. I don't want to be on my phone all the time, but it's almost like this, where we're at today forces you to do it. Like, you have to be on your phone to stay in touch with people. So I don't have the answer. I just know it's an issue and that I'm concerned with. It's a problem that I'm concerned with myself, and I got to try to find a way to manage it. Putting my phone down, finding time to put my phone down and not be it with me all the time is an issue. But, I run a wrestling camp. I just released a video on Facebook and Twitter, and I'm like concerned about how many views it's getting and stuff because I want people to be interested in my business. So I'm right there. I'm not much better than anybody else. I think I'm better than some people. It's a concern. It's an issue that I see with kids. I'd almost rather them not have phones in school. Like, at my high school, you're allowed to have your phone out, except when you're in class, but you can have it out in passing time and at lunch. And I wish it wasn't that way.
How old were you when you first got your own cell phone?
Junior in college.
Whoa.
Yep.
Junior in college. And now kids are getting phones at 10 years old. So think about how much a generation changes that, Like,
yeah, that's the exact reason we sent the iPads back.
Did you really?
Yeah, I canceled the order. I'm not doing it, man. I'm not going to start my 5 and 6 year old. I mean, they know how to open Danny and Brindley know my code to my phone and know how to open it up with my, 6-digit numbers and stuff. And it's like, any chance that they get, they steal it, and they're on YouTube Kids, and they find a way to navigate through all of that. Danny, her favorite thing to do is be on Snapchat filters. Like, Danny knows how to get to Snapchat, put on the filters, and she sends me Snapchats any chance she gets.
Hudson can pick up my phone if it's unlocked and go to the app that's a Disney Channel app and find there's like 10 different shows. He'll click the show he wants and pull up an episode without me doing it.
Exactly. It's like that's scary to me. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, hey, we don't got much time. I didn't want to cut you off there, John.
Yeah, you're good.
But
40 minutes.
really quick, the last question, John, if you want to ask it. Let's spend like 2 minutes on it because I want to get to the rapid fire, the fun stuff.
So you touched on your wrestling camp briefly. Yeah. Kind of tell like the viewers and the listeners what you guys do and kind of where you were and where you are now, because it's pretty cool.
Yeah, 8 years ago, started a camp, had like 30 kids at it. But the big thing is up in St. Ignace. So it's up in up north of Mackinac Bridge, the first city past the Mackinac Bridge, right next to Mackinac. If you go to Mackinac Island, usually you're going from St. Ignace. That's where it was. I believed in it. I'm a pretty good people person, so I was really convincing with coaches on saying, hey, man, you got to come up here and bring a team. The next year, I had another 30 kids at it. I was so frustrated. I'm like, I'm spending all this time, and I'm losing money on this camp. I said I'd do it another year. I had 90 people at it, and I thought, like, holy cow, man, I have 90 people up there with me, and it was awesome. The next year I had 200. The next year I had 400. The next year I had 500. And then the last couple of years I've had 700 people that have joined me, 700 kids. So about over 1,000 people each camp, every time I run a camp, just because of the coaches and parents that join it. So St. Ignace, its value.
30 to 1,000.
Yeah, it's crazy. But, and that's done with my brothers, Paul, Brian, and Ben. We're all involved in the camp. And I think people like to see the way we interact with each other. They want to be around us because we love each other. We work hard together. And they're all, you look at Ben, he looks like a freak, man. He's ripped up and working out. And Brian is the same way, man. Brian's like a Greek god. He's huge and he's strong. But they love Brian and Ben and Paul. They love kids. They love being around them. Like whether it's a 5-month-old or a 15-year-old, they find a way to connect with those people. And I think people want to be around that. They think they see the value that we see in wrestling. I'm a big proponent of just trying to advance our sport and trying to make our sport better. In sports in general, we have a flip contest that has nothing to do with wrestling up at my camp, but in the fastest man at the camp, and we play football and spike ball and all kinds of stuff. And being a multi-sport athlete, people see that we believe in all those things. And it's made my camp better for a lot of different reasons, but the camp is a big part of my life, and people kind of know me from my camp now, which is cool. But it's been very successful. But I'm telling you, it was not successful for like 4 years. So people just see this and they're like, oh, RJ's got this camp and he's so lucky and blah, blah, blah. Took a lot of risk. I invested a lot of my time and money on it. And now it is what it is.
We were going to camps and spend the night in the locker room sleeping on cots.
Yeah, they don't see that.
Yeah. That's awesome, man. That is awesome. I'm going to share all these notes in the podcast just so you guys know, and you guys can check out RJ's video, which is sick, and all the information on RJ, where you can follow him, all that stuff. But let's get to the fun stuff. John, do you want to go first or you want me to go?
You got it. First one.
All right. This is a rapid fire question, so it's got to be at the top of the dome, just whatever you got, okay?
Yeah, I'm nervous.
If you be a cartoon character, who would you be?
Oh, man. A cartoon character, I would be – the first person that came to mind was Wile E. Coyote. I have no idea why.
Hey, it works. It works. Yeah. All right, next question.
He's kind of a thug.
Thug life. Favorite movie ever?
Oh, my God. I was just talking about this. It's so hard. How do you – Top Gun?
Top Gun. Top of the dome.
That's a salad. I like it. You got it.
If you could be in a music group, any music group of all time, which one would you be in?
I'd be a country singer for sure. And it's not a group. I'd be the lead singer for sure. If I could be in it, I'd be Tim McGraw.
Tim McGraw. He said NWA last time. You say Tim McGraw. Okay.
I just watched Straight Outta Compton before that. So.
Yeah, I've watched that movie. That might be my favorite movie too, though. I've watched that movie like 15 times.
Okay. Favorite ice cream flavor?
This is gonna sound pretty lame. Vanilla bean.
Vanilla bean. Okay. All right, Oprah, your mom. I'm kidding. Let's see here. If you could be a pro athlete in any sport, what would it be?
Well, wrestling. But there's no professional wrestling, so don't get that. I'm not going to be dropping like elbows on anybody, like doing professional wrestling, but wrestling. I want to be an Olympic wrestler, be an Olympian.
Okay. McGregor or Mayweather?
Ooh.
Talking about being humble, I hate them both. But McGregor.
Ooh.
Not that he's gonna win, but if I could hang out with somebody and learn from somebody, it'd be McGregor instead of Mayweather. Mayweather's a punk, and he's all about money. I mean, so is McGregor. They're both punks, but
Are alligators and crocodiles the same thing or completely different?
well, they're similar, but they're different. They're not the same thing. Crocodile's a dinosaur.
Okay, John, last question.
All right, last question. Dog or cat?
Dog.
Okay.
No, we can't end on that one. We got to get a better one than that.
We got to make this. Open this up to the public.
Yes. For the public, what do you guys want to hear? I had a question in my head. Let's end with this. This is I lost it. Can pineapples go on pizza?
Well, they can, but they shouldn't.
Okay, thank you.
I think they should.
No way.
All right, let's do this. This is always a fun one. Pull up your phone.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Go to your emojis.
Okay.
Now, the ones that go down, the first row that goes down, what are the top 5?
Hold on a second here. A thumbs up. A mad face that's red. The middle finger. Emoji like laughing, crying, and a black thumb.
All right. We won't get into that one, but that captures all of who RJ Boudro is. All right, RJ, where can we find you at social media wise?
Social media, you can find me on Facebook at BoudroI, on Twitter. I really don't even know what my Snapchat, like, how do you even know your Snapchat thing? It's can you tell me that?
Open your Snapchat.
Yeah. Oh, RJ Boudro.
Simple. Cool. What about the wrestling camp? Where can we find that?
BoudroWrestling.com.
Cool. Anything else?
Like I said, I just appreciate the opportunity. I didn't expect this, but I can tell my day is got off to a really good start. I appreciate you guys having me on.
Yeah,
That's
man.
Awesome, man. All right, I'll share all the notes, guys, and I'll share this on my Facebook. John will upload it to the YouTube. We'll get this rocking, guys. Thank you, RJ Boudro.
Thank you very
Definitely
much,
the podcast. Hopefully, we'll have you back on soon.
Sounds good to me.
All right, love you, man.
Good day, man.
Thank you. See ya.